Well, happy Thursday, everyone. This is the So What Marketing Analytics and Insights live show. It's with me and John. Katie is at the the Marketing AI Institute AI for B2B Marketers Summit, where she is delivering her keynote talk on becoming AI ready. So, which if you I don't know if you'll be able to catch her recording of it or not, but if you want to catch what she's talking about, it is in our new AI readiness marketing strategy kit. Go to trustinsights.ai/AI kit to get it for free. This week is part 2 of our talk on AI and sales. We're going to talk about how to use AI as a sales co-pilot. Nothing to do with Microsoft Copilot. I should preface it by studying that, but it is a popular term. So, John, as a sales leader, what things would you like AI to be able to tell you about the condition of like the sales pipeline, for example?
Yeah, the greatest thing in there would be automated processes that map our existing procedures, where we want to be and where we want to do. Because one of the biggest challenges we have are leads and prospects where we engage at some point, and then for some reason it fizzles and it sits out there. And to have a backstop where after 2 weeks it goes back and says, okay, what's going on, with this lead and where are things going? And also to qualify and score and keep track of just raw leads. Like you're just talking about the paper we dropped, it's gone berserk. We've had hundreds of leads come in the past 2 days. And so we do have some systems in place where those get prioritized. Like HubSpot's done a decent job with categorization. I get notice of the ones I've already engaged with, so I'm able to cherry pick. But doing more on that front, yeah, I'm just really excited for what you've got, because all this stuff we've seen people getting 10, 100x the effort, being able to automate stuff that was normally a pain and now have that just happen is huge. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. So let's start by first saying this. You need to have done the sales playbook. If you have not done this part, today's episode will not work for you. Like nothing we do today can be done without this. So if you missed last week's episode, it's on our YouTube channel. Go to trustinsights.ai/YouTube. You must have the consolidated sales playbook, because in here are things like ideal customer profiles, the pitches that and the processes that you have in your sales process for each stage of your pipeline and things. Again, if you don't have that, you can't do anything. So I think the first place I would want to start, and we know that in general, CRM software is fairly bloated. The reporting is challenging, and or some systems are like, oh yeah, insert additional coins for for this or that or the other thing. So we're going to start by saying, let's just start with a basic snapshot. What we want to think about here with the Copilot is we want to have a Copilot be something that flies along with us, that from time to time you can maybe give it a little bit of control, but you're still the pilot. I'm going to load in some JSON data. So here's where this data came from. I took our actual HubSpot data from our actual HubSpot CRM, exported it as a CSV, a spreadsheet. Now, we've talked in the past, you cannot give spreadsheets to generative AI. This is a terrible idea. Never do that. What you can do is you can hand generative AI a spreadsheet that has been converted into what's called JSON, JavaScript object format. And what I've done is I've made a synthetic version of our HubSpot pipeline that has none of the actual person identifying information or the people who are actually working with the sales, because that's just basic data privacy. But what you can see in this file is things like it is our solutions. It is our fake conversations. So, John, Chris, and Katie are in here. And we have all these fake companies with fake stakeholders, but modeled on our very real HubSpot data. So I'm going to start by putting the JSON file of our HubSpot real data in. And we're going to give this a prompt to say, turn this into a sales dashboard. Right? Let's just get a look at our pipeline. So the prompt is, using HTML, CSS, Tailwind, create a summary infographic of our current pipeline based on the JSON import, so that sales leader John Wall and CEO Katie Robert can instantly see the status of our sales pipeline. So I'm going to add that, and I'm also, of course, going to add in the sales playbook, because that has all the things like what each stage of our deals means. If I don't put this in, then this is an exercise in futility. So, and I'll also give some brand style guidelines just so it makes something that isn't completely ugly. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And what it's going to do is it's going to generate raw HTML. Now, raw HTML is not going to be nice to look at. However, we can copy and paste that and then just load that in a browser window. Why we would do this is, again, because sometimes what's built into sales products, CRMs, Salesforce, I'm looking at you, are the most convoluted, complicated, overthinking dashboards when really someone like you or Katie just like, what's going on? Like, that's all I need to know. What's going on?
Yeah, this is it. To be able to get a picture of where you're at, you don't need 35-page dashboards.
Well, that's the thing is when I log into HubSpot, you go to the dashboards and reports page, and it's just this wall of dials and it looks like, it reminds me of like what they do in Star Trek or in Doctor Who, where they just add dials just to make it look complicated.
Right. Yeah. Well, and yeah, we could go on forever about, dashboards and how that works as far as upper level management versus people actually making change.
Exactly. So let's see how it's doing here. Oh, that's interesting. It's actually starting to put in the deal data itself. So we can see the sales pipeline snapshot, total open deals, total active deals, pipeline by stage. But I see it's actually putting in summary level data that we might be able to manipulate, which I did not ask for. But you know what? That's pretty cool. I'll take it. While it's doing this, John, what are the things that you currently have on your sales dashboard that and how often do you look at the dashboards that are built into like HubSpot?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple process for us because we have 4 checkpoints and then closed and lost. So it gets used every other day or better because I just go in there and say, okay, what's on the to-do list? Who do we need to check in with? Where are they at? And it does have the HubSpot deal record has all the key points as far as amount and stage and the referrals, where the stuff came from, source codes. But after that, it's really not that complicated. We're a small enough org that once I know what's going on with the 15 or 20 things that are live, that's about it. It's when once you add that second sales rep, like that's when it really starts to kind of get crazier because you've got records that, the other person doesn't even know what they are. So now you need to start having more rigid process and be able to figure out what's going on. But yeah, for right now, it's just, it does work in that here's the picture of everything that's going on and where it's at.
Right. So this is what it snapped together. It said sales pipeline snapshot, total open pipeline value, $587,000, 40 active deals, 393 in proposal, 193 in opportunity, 18 newer unqualified leads. Leaders action items, needs attention, deals with no activities in 30 days. We have HealthBridge Pharma, Global EduConnect, and Pixel Spark Digital. HealthBridge Pharma in particular, no activity on it, which is kind of bad. And then high value deals. Here is Momentum Marketing Group, Cybersecure, Ascendia Health. Obviously, like I said, these are not real companies. And then what's supposed to be closing this month, August 2025. So I will say this is a lot easier on the eyes than the hideously bright orange everything in HubSpot. If you had this dashboard to look at, John, what if anything would this help you with?
Yeah, well, having the needs attention, like that's great. The stuff that is, stalled or said there's been a violation of process, so like something needs to get done with those is great. The only thing that's kind of that's missing from there that I can see so far is having them broken down by stage, because the ones where we have scopes already out and are waiting signature or review, those are more important than the ones that, they read a white paper and we've got a call on the docket for next week. Those can kind of sit and simmer, whereas we do have the high priority ones that, we're continually babysitting.
Okay. I think that's a really good idea. So let's take that feedback and let's say, okay, let's figure out next best action. We've got our sales playbook. We've got our pipeline. Let's figure out what the next best action is and have the tool attempt to, let's list them in outline format by deal name. opportunity stage and next best action. Explain each next best action, and we'll have it do it in HTML and Tailwind, so that it's not just console output. But one of the things that I often find, and I remember this from my sales days, is trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do today, or what's the next step with this deal? Like, I have no idea. And again, this is going back to our sales playbook from last week, where you have the sales process mapped out. Here's prospecting, qualification, discovery, and things, key metrics, and then you have the sales tactics. Like, so at each stage of the pipeline, here are sales tactics. So if you have that in your sales playbook, then you can come up with here's a recommended next best action for each of these things, for each of the deals that are in the pipeline. How do you as a human manage next best action, John?
I just use the force with that. I mean, we go through, we go down the list, and there's notes in HubSpot. So we do have checkpoints, and we use Google Drive for a lot of stuff, because for us, it's pretty simple. We do initial screening call just to prove that they're for real and they have budget and that we may be able to work together. The second stage is to bring in you or Katie for technical and review, as far as, okay, we realize a project could happen, but do we feel we can be successful once we've got the whole team on? And then we actually write up a formal document. And that's kind of the classic sales chasing the signature and making sure we get through their procurement process and all that stuff. So it's not super complicated as far as what the steps are. So as long as I can see what stage they're at, I know what we're supposed to be doing next. But yeah, otherwise it's kind of clunky, because I'm relying on email and the HubSpot notes field to give me a specific point as far as, like, okay, here's where we are today and what we need to get done tomorrow.
Have you worked with any CRM software that has a built-in next best action as a Copilot, to tell a person, like, hey, here's what you should be doing?
No, I've worked with simpler systems that were just kind of like, okay, the next checkpoint is X. But yeah, I've never seen anything that was smart enough to actually, kind of say, like, okay, you should be sending this email, or, giving you really more specific and accurate next steps.
Okay, well, let's see what it came up with. So it says next best actions in the sales pipeline. Pixel Spark Digital, AI content lead gen solutions. Next best action, execute gentle nudge or value reinforcement play from the sales playbook. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can all see what we're looking at here. The deal has stalled. Send a polite follow-up email that provides new value. Link to a new relevant blog post. Inquires about their decision-making timeline. Playbook rationale. Re-engages the prospect without being pushy. Keeps trust insights top of mind. Help uncover hidden objections, as in Playbook Play 6.4.3. Global EduConnect. Next best action. Proactively address legal review. Schedule a brief call with their primary contact. See if there's any clarification for their legal team. Also have Katie join if they need strategic stuff. FinTech innovators, next best action, confirm next steps and timeline, follow up emails with primary contact. So how does, if you imagine if this was our actual pipeline, John, as a sales lead or as a sales lead, does this give you a sense of what you would want to do?
Yeah, it gives you a clear, approach onto, like, okay, what's the next lever to pull and where to go. And the huge value I see with this is when you get to the point where you've got too many leads going, you could have a virtual assistant that could scrape through this and do the, kick off the tracks that don't require any extra effort, take all the easy work, the less challenging work off the plate.
Why a virtual assistant?
Yeah, no, it could definitely be an AI agent. I mean, automating it would be even better. But yeah, as of today, BA would be how we would handle that.
No, I would make it.
You're all set to let it rip. Yeah, I'm all on board. I'm in.
One of the things, though, that I see also useful here is, because the next best action is pretty well canned, there actually is a default field in HubSpot called next step, but the software doesn't populate with anything. It just says next step and it expects you, the human, to fill it in. I could easily see, since on the back end in the JSON file, we have the deal IDs, having a tool like N8N literally just go into HubSpot, say, okay, I've got my next best action recommendation from the LLM. Let's put it in the records. Like, let's put it in the actual next step field within the record.
Yeah. And because then you can even have a dashboard run that, so you can see them all. You can see by next task what they've got to do.
We could also do goodness of fit, which is something that is very, very difficult for us to figure out. So let me go back to our pipeline analysis. And here, I'm going to say, let's do some analysis and diagnosis of our pipeline. Match each opportunity against the ICPs. Return the deals and companies the closest match and the goodness of fit on a scale of 0 to 100 as to whether the company deal fits the fits one of the 7 ICPs. Return your results in HTML, CSS, Tailwind. So this is now sort of going a level deeper to look at if you were a sales leader, you're looking at this and going, we got 390,000 in proposal and 190,000 opportunity, 18 new leads. You might say, gosh, we know we have like you said, 1,000 new prospects in our database from our LinkedIn paper and like 800 new prospects for the new AI readiness kit. Why isn't this bigger? Like, why is the pipeline so bad? Or was it from Glenn Ross? The leads are weak, right? The leads are weak. We might want to run a diagnosis. So let's call this diagnosis. And let's take our sales records as it's generating and say how good a fit is our pipeline. Because last week when we did this, we have our ideal customer profiles. We have all these, and then we have the buyer personas in here. So we know who our ideal customers are. And we could measure what's in our pipeline and go, you know what? Part of the reason the pipeline might be stalled is that the companies that are in the pipeline they're not the right customers. They're not going to do the job for us. So let's paste this in and look at our pipeline diagnosis. And we go down here, like Alpha Investments. Oh, that's niche solution seeker, but it scores only a 35. So it's like, yeah, that's not great, right? We have a lot of ICPs 1s, 2. We have a lot of 5s, and so we might even rejigger this to say, like, you know what? Those ICP 5s, the niche solution seeker, they don't have money, right? Ignite Fitness Studios. I know most fitness studio chains, they do not have great margins.
Right. They're not looking to spend. And so that's the stoplight indicator is against just ICP match.
Yeah, against a fit of ICP. So we could equally do this again for things like budget, for things like deal age, just getting a green, yellow, red of like how good a fit is this company or any given companies based on our criteria.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to screen.
How else would you want to look at our pipeline?
Other slices there, if you can get any commonality, that's something that we're always kind of wondering about. Is there anything as far as the types of orgs in there? Can it tell us who else we should be talking to in the database based on the folks we've been able to get into the process?
Well, we covered that a lot last week with the ICPs themselves. Like these are all the types of companies that we work with. Are you saying that you might have stuff that are laterals outside of our ideal customer profiles?
Yeah, and really that idea of, the best proof are the folks that have actually stepped up and have budget and are going to go to deals. That's even better than just the database and the house list. Yeah, that's really more deal analysis. And yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That opens up a whole door too of like just looking at the wins. What kind of stuff can you get from the wins? Because now you're not, you've got all the stuff in the raw pipeline that there's a bunch of it that never makes it to close.
Okay. Well, let's ask it this. Using our existing ICPs and the sales pipeline, what other kinds of companies should we be looking to market to? Who might be most lucrative? I mean, I think that's a reasonable question to ask. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. I'm going to beat everyone over the head with this. You have to have all this data predefined so that the AI knows what exists already. If you attempt to do this without it, you're in hallucination territory that looks a lot like Keith Richards.
Yeah, completely. No idea what's going to come out, and don't think you can just jump on it.
Exactly. So let's see. Here's a report. Oh, it's decided this is going to make me a report. So it apparently thinks I want web pages for everything now. So it's just going to start generating. Because I'll spin up a new ops.html file here so that we have a place to put it. Let's see. It's really thinking through this sort of thing. It's impressive. Oh, it's going by the different opportunity categories. That's interesting. All right, let's take this whole thing because it partially mangled the response. And let's put it into on screen here. So it said, hey, our current pipeline reveals 4 highly lucrative adjacent market opportunities. They're not entirely new ICPs, but rather high potential specializations. Prioritizing these segments will allow us to leverage our proven strengths. The regulatory specialist, the agency enablement partner, the old economy digital transformer, and the enterprise AI strategist. And let's make this a little bit bigger here so we can see what we're doing. The regulated industry specialist, companies operating in highly regulated environments. Supporting evidence from the pipeline. These are the deals. Why it's lucrative, high cost of failure, complex problems, budget availability. The agency enablement partner. You have all these agencies. Why it's lucrative, force multiplier. One agency partner can become a channel for dozens of end client projects. They find the clients. We provide the expertise. I really like that. High lifetime value, scalable offerings. Marketing on sale. Double down on the trust in our name. Create targeted content on ethical AI and healthcare, AI financial compliance. Well, Katie's going to be doing that. Develop a formal Trust Insights partner program. Offer referral fees. The old economy digital transformer. Manufacturing B2B industrials. Why it's lucrative operational budgets, greenfield opportunity, and tangible ROI. And the enterprise strategist. Engage clients. Solves problems owned by the C-suite. High strategic value, full stack Trust Insights value. So there's your pipeline adjacent stuff, John.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm surprised that the AI agency one comes in lower. But that does make sense, I guess, as you dig in deeper to the deals, that those profiles are the ones that tend to get all the way to close. So that makes sense.
Okay, so next, what do you want to know as a sales leader? We've now gone through. We have better reporting, right? So that automatically helps. We have next best actions for our entire pipeline and what we should do. We have pipeline ICP fit to see what companies in our pipeline and how well they fit our ICPs. And then we have a go fishing for new business.
Yeah, it'd be cool can we run a backstop, run something, look at the losses that are more than 6 months old or 3 months old and show me the ones that based on what's closed that should have closed,
I don't think I generated that in the fake data.
Oh yeah. The closed stack is not over there.
I think I only have, let me just double check that to make sure I'm not lying, but I think I only faked,
fake the live stuff.
Yeah, there's no closed won or closed lost in here, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that would be one thing is, re-engagement. Because like there's tons of clients out there where we went through the whole process and then suddenly the champion got laid off, or they were like, oh, we don't have the budget for this quarter. So to be able to find stuff that could be ripe now, that we had missed through the past run would be good.
Oh, so like re-engagement, like win them back.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I guess with wins you could do that too.
Upsells.
Yeah, upsell. Right. We don't know what's upsold versus like who bought a 6-month project and then didn't come back for more stuff. But yeah, so then that creates another interesting question: lifetime value. Of what's in there. Who are the best over time? Because we lose sight of that. We have some clients we think we're doing great because they're doing all these tiny projects, but then we have other ones that they kind of come in once every other year with a giant project. Like, actually, who of those are the best people to be working with? Like, of the customers we have, who are the ones we should be trying
to? Okay. Well, I'm having it generate 10 closed, won and lost files. So I say great. from those won and lost. So let's build a backstop report. So what's in the backstop report?
Yeah, backstop. It's always, stuff that got dropped or left behind, and can we go back and bring something back to life? Is there something that again got dropped, right? Because as sales manager, that's always the biggest one. Is the, hey, we gave you this list, and they said, oh well, I called everybody, nobody called me back. But is that really the case? And is there anything that they missed in that?
Okay. Build your report in HTML with CSS and Tailwind. So since it made the lovely files, let's see if it can create a backstop report on who we lost. I like the idea of this because there is always, but like we always say, is they always come back, right?
Yeah. And even, and I thought about that. I don't know if you have contact info, but it jumps company to company, right? Because ultimately we're selling to people, and there's tons of people who love what we do. They see the value, but it's just not the right time at their org for whatever reason. Like they're not in enough of a position of power to make a decision, or they don't have the budget this time, or, there's a million reasons why this is not the time that can be done, but the person is a champion, isn't on board and wants to do something. We have plenty of folks, we have the no budget crew that we make fun of who, every time they move jobs, they come back and want to get something rolling, and they never can. But, even those people are champions. And so, yeah, if we can find deals where, we've made some inroads in the past and now we can go back and see if it's finally time. Yeah, because they always come back.
Okay, well, let's take this backstop report first and see how that looks. We'll put it into the window here. So we have backstop report to analyze every loss. You'll understand the root cause loss and provide a playbook to strategy for potential recovery. Data well corp, predictive modeling pilot, lost on price budget, future prevention and recovery plan. The selected vendors less experienced set a 4-month follow-up task. Re-engage with a gentle nudge. Place 6.4.3, offering new relevant thought leadership piece. Be prepared to be the first call when cheaper solution under delivers. That happens a lot. Someone goes for the cheap solution, and then 6 months later, they're like, so the cheap solution didn't work. And then we're like, yes, the expensive solution is still available. However, unfortunately, it's more expensive.
Right, exactly.
Innovest, internal champion left. Right. So during discovery, actively map out and build relationships. As noted, says 6-month follow-up, execute the content-driven ICP outreach, play 6.1.4 to the new leadership. The goal is to reestablish contact and revalidate the original need, treating it as a new warm lead. First chapter books, lost to internal DIY effort. Yep, that happens a lot. Internal IT projects face delays or fail to meet business needs. Set a 3-month follow-up check-in. Ask how the internal project is progressing and offer to provide a second opinion or to help them get unstuck.
Yeah, it's funny. Those are always an interesting roll of the dice because you still never know who's vested in the internal project when you come knocking. There's some people that is their intention to bury you when you come asking, offering a second opinion, because that's the absolute last thing they want to see. But hopefully, sooner or later they get to the bottom of the bucket and can't make up excuses, and somebody will come in who wants to make things right and be effective.
Exactly. New CMO comes in. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Why have you been working 10 months on something that, nothing's gone out the door?
Yep. Momentum dynamics, enterprise attribution modeling, lost to entrenched incumbent, large firm. Yep. Long-term nurture. The large firm will likely deliver a generic solution, periodically send the client contact our cutting-edge thought leadership on specifically attribution modeling, position ourselves as the true specialists they can turn to when the generic solution isn't good enough. And then finally, Global Logistics Corporation process optimization project pause due to external factors. The reason for loss is not rejection of value. Add the contact to long-term nurture sequence in Mautic. Set a firm CRM task to re-engage in late Q4 2025 ahead of their stated Q1 2026 restart. The outreach should reference the prior discussion as they're beginning to plan for the new year. There are a couple of leads in our pipeline, and I know who they are. That this is the exact description. It's just that the generative AI just changed all the names.
Right.
That I can say, like, immediately after this live stream, I need to go email them and say, so your fiscal year's starting in a month. What do you want to do?
Right. Yeah. The folks that said, hey, we don't have money this year, but come back and talk next year.
Exactly. So the backstop report, again, very cool, very straightforward. And I want to emphasize, this is not like super high tech. This is one spreadsheet file from the CRM that has the notes data as well as all the other company data converted into a JSON file that we have been just asking stock out of the box Google Gemini these questions and asking it to build these reports in HTML with our brand style guidelines. That's all this is. This is not high tech. This is not hundreds of thousands of dollars in technology and consulting. This is literally just asking questions and having it put it in something that doesn't look like garbage for output. That's it. If we wanted to convert this into a true Copilot, our next steps would be to take the sales playbook, take our CRM data, and take the prompts that we've been using them and put them into actual workflows like the N8N environment or Python code or whatever. And instead of trying to process all the data at once, because obviously for Trust Insights, I would love it if we had the problem of like, we have 10,000 deals. There's no way that Gemini can process all 10,000 all at once. We don't have that problem yet. Gemini can handle our pipeline. It still fits within the 1 million token window. But you would instead have a system that programmatically goes and does each deal individually, one at a time, and then passes the updates to and from an LLM back into your sales CRM. So in terms of a live Copilot, as deals, in fact, one of the things you can do in a system like N8N is you can have triggers themselves where the trigger is something that happens in HubSpot, and then the N8N system listens to HubSpot. So like when a deal is created, that could trigger a next best action flow to say, okay, I've looked at the deal, I've looked at what you've put in it, here's your next best action. And obviously you can create if we look up here, you can update tickets, you can create deals, you can create contacts, you can create engagements, tickets and things like that. Or you could just tie in like a Gmail thing and say, hey, I see the deal, here's your next best action. And then when you assign it to a person in HubSpot, that person gets the email saying, hey, your next best action on this deal is to do this.
Yeah, and there's also value even for the stuff that doesn't close, as something dies, to have it go through and say, okay, we do a check back in 6 months and at a year, things like that to take care of all that. Otherwise you have somebody that's having to set up all these tasks and appointments further out in the calendar. That's completely work that can easily be automated.
Exactly. So within a system like N8N, you would just be enabling these reports and these analyses. It would just be automatic rather than manually doing it. But even if you don't do that, if you just do the manual thing that we've just done now over the last 35 minutes, if you do that at the end of the week, I mean, it didn't take that long. This week, due to time constraints, I didn't have a chance to pre-bake anything. So we did this entirely live, and we have 5 really solid reports from our sales pipeline that will take you under 20 minutes, 20 minutes a week to look at and go, okay, these 3 deals, we need to talk about them at this week's sales meeting. Here's what we need to do for each of these new deals in the pipeline. The ones that are at the bottom here that are just not good fits, like kick them off the deal board. If they're not going to buy, kick them off the deal board because we're just not going to provide value for them. Here's the next 4 webinars we have to do, right? To say like, yep, we need a regulated industry webinar, AI for regulated industries, and then the I guess the cleanup and maintenance, like who can we win back?
Yeah, that's all solid stuff. But again, a plug for, just as you said, this is all possible because we have the process and procedure set up. And so that's the thing. If you are not to this point and you want to know how can we configure our CRM and set up a book of policies and procedures so that we're gathering this data so we can finally take advantage of this stuff, we help out with that kind of stuff, and we can get you where you need to go so you've got actionable data.
Exactly. Anything else on your wish list as a sales leader, John?
Yeah, no, I just wish there was like an arm twist button, that I could hit and it just make a signature appear on a document. That would be the real ultimate power. But no, it's like every single deal there's human behavior, there's emotion, there's empathy. So having these tools to simplify and build a process, it allows you to spend the time on the difficult stuff to qualify and to see, what's holding you back, why you're not getting that signature, as opposed to spending your whole day like setting up tasks 6 months from now and drilling through the database trying to find that one that you forgot last week, and now it's buried in the pile and you can't get to it. So it's this is all great stuff to make you more effective and put you where on the problems that you need to take care of and get everything else off your plate.
Yep. So I imagine as Katie is watching the replay of this, she will be asking where the Trust Insights version is that uses our actual data. So after we hang up for the live stream, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Yes, to-do list is again, the live stream always seems to generate heat on the to-do list for both of us.
Which is the way it's supposed to go. I mean, the fact is that if we have this stuff documented, we should be able to put it into play. Now, what I would like to see, and I don't know how close we are to it, is I would like to see this automation built into our CRM so that we don't have to do this in external tools. I mean, it's great that we can go into Gemini or Chat GPT or Claude or whatever and just crank this out. But I almost feel like they should be doing it for us. Like, what are we paying them for?
Well, yeah, that's you open a very big Pandora's box with that one as far as what's happening in some of these big CRM companies. It's I just with everything happening with N8N, it just seems like end users are going to be doing this stuff far faster and more effectively than sitting around and hoping and praying that the product team gets to this stuff.
Exactly. And that brings me to the last topic, which is, and I was talking about this on LinkedIn earlier. This is technical concept called MCP, Model Context Protocol. And what MCP allows you to do is it allows you to call external tools and data from inside a chat window. So as an example, if I bring up Anthropic's Claude, which is one of the Claude desktop apps, supports MCPs out of the box. You have to install it. But then once you've got that, you have something that you can work with. And if I say, let me find a document here that I can use. Oh yeah, let's use this one. Let's actually use the blog post. I'll say, count the number of. Let me turn on my screen share here. Count the number of words in this document using the word counter tool. The word counter tool is an MCP, Model Context Protocol server, that I built. It does one thing. It does a word count. That's it. Like it requires no other horsepower than that. Let's see if Claude remembers that it has a word counting tool. I'm on Sonnet and I'm in the right place. It's thinking. But a lot of the prompts and a lot of the things that we talked about today are things that if you were to put them into an MCP server, then you could do like, at sales playbook, what should I do with this deal? And if you bring in like, you would say like at HubSpot CRM, show me the deals I need to work on, the 3 deals I need to work on today. And then you could do at sales playbook, how should I process these deals? It would be able to understand that. So here you could see now, hey, I remembered that I have access to the word count tool. I'm going to send the word count tool the document. The word count tool is going to launch separately, and it's going to spit back an answer that says 708 was what came back from the tool, which is the actual correct number. Interestingly, if you were to do this without the word count tool, you'll get answers between 500 and 1,000 because these tools can't count.
Yeah, you just get a hallucination,
which is hilarious. Like, why don't you know this?
Math is hard.
Math really is hard for these things, but I think that's the thing that I would add in is like, if you were to think about the sales automation, what would it look like to have your sales playbook as an MCP tool right inside of? So if your employees use Chat GPT, which will support MCP soon, you could have it just provide recommendations immediately. Say like, oh, okay, it's this.
Yeah, I can see that being very useful. That's another, just like next wave sales. There's no catchy term for this yet. You'd think something would have already stuck as far as next generation AI powered sales. I would have to put some cycle time behind that.
I mean, you have Salesforce automation, so I guess it would be Salesforce AI.
Yeah, no, we're not going that route. We definitely need something else.
All right. Well, yeah, I probably can't even use the word Salesforce, huh?
Yes, exactly. I did that. That's San Francisco will have a problem with that. So we'll have to figure out another way to go.
All right. Any final parting thoughts?
Give us a call if you want to dig into this stuff. I mean, this is like cutting edge stuff for us even. And so, yeah, if you have a sales process that you want to automate and run, we would love to talk more about this stuff, because this is where we have a couple partners that we're already working with that have use cases that are just crushing it. So if you need to, want to think about how to use AI to sell more, give us a buzz.
Yep. Pop on by trustinsights.ai/contact. All right. That's going to do it for this week's show. So we will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast and a weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.